going on, everybody? Justin here, and in this video we're going to be doing the Monsterathon book tag, and this is a really cool tag that's associated with the Monsterathon readathon that is coming up in the month of September. And the Monsterathon was created by Chapter Kate. She's got a really awesome channel, definitely one of my favorites. Highly encourage you guys to go check her channel out. I'll leave a link down below for that, but it's a readathon that's all about, creatures and monsters and stuff, so it sounded like a really cool idea. There's gonna be 3 teams and everything. I'll talk a little bit more about it in my TBR video, but what this video is, the tag video, is it's associated with sort of like a TBR video, but basically instead of a TBR it's going to be all the prompts, but they're going to be in the form of a tag, as in basically talking about a book that you've already read in the past, for others to sort of like think about and maybe get interested in for those prompts. So yeah, let's just get started. The first prompt is Classic Creepers. So it's a book featuring a classic horror monster. And I got a perfect one for that. And it's Dawn and Damnation by Clark Casey. This is kind of like a fantasy weird western. And for, the classic horror monsters, we have vampires, as you can see. So vampire cowboys, undead cowboys, werewolves, vampires, all that sort of stuff. And all this is going on in this little town called Damnation, which actually is the purgatory of the Wild West. So yeah, it's kind of a crazy mishmash of all kinds of, gunslingers and farmers and, vampires and werewolves and everything, all just hanging out with basically nothing to do. So yeah, it's basically just kind of, filling in the time with their boredom and guns too. Just like some Wild West shootouts and everything. But like I said, you got lots of classic creatures in that one, and it's a lot of fun. All right, prompt number 2, what big eyes you have. So read a book over 400 pages, and I'm trying to stick with the horror theme as best I can. For the first one I have Black Sun Rising by C.S. Friedman. I really enjoyed the Cold Fire trilogy, and this is the first one. And just look at like how awesome this cover is, and just so you get a vibe of like the horror. Just like look at those like odd trees. If that's not like spooky. Basically here on this planet of Urna, all these like weird demon creature things can essentially manifest themselves out of the fear that you have. So when you get really scared about something, it'll like enter the Fae, and then somewhere else in the world, it might just manifest itself based upon your fears. And that is essentially the fantasy environment of this planet, and that's about as horror as it gets right there, I think. Definitely a lot of heavy concepts, definitely a lot of flaws too, but it's definitely one of my favorite trilogies. It's such a weird mashup of like science and fantasy and horror. And it's kind of like more like horror concepts. It's not like concept horror per se, but a lot of like really scary things kind of going on in the background. So that's why I'm going with Black Sun Rising. Book number 3, Chimera. A book that's classified under multiple genres, and kind of sticking with that Western theme. I got Six Gun Tarot here by Iris Belcher. It's got a really cool cover, I thought too, which is partly why I picked it up. But I started to really like weird westerns. So obviously this has like kind of a Western feel to it for a genre, fantasy feel, kind of almost like a sci-fi feel, because there's some like technology and things kind of going on as well. Some weird horror stuff going on. There's like a tentacle porn monster at one time. as crazy as that sounds, there's undead things. There's all kinds of stuff. Like there is so much going on in this. I wouldn't even have any idea what you like. Really, it's a weird western. That's what we're going with. So yeah, you want something psycho, and there are lots of different genres. That's a good one to go to. All right, number 4, The Real Monsters. Featuring a book featuring monstrous humans. I could go with I read a lot of nonfiction stuff. For a nonfiction work that's not really a horror one, is Radium Girls, and I can't remember the author off the top of my head, but it's a really good read about the sad story of these women who were dial painters, but they painted with radium for a lot of like military instruments, and then like watches and stuff like after World War I. Things like that, but at the time, radium wasn't considered like radioactive or poisonous or anything. And then when all these, really deteriorating health conditions kind of came about, it sort of covers their like legal struggles for like, literally like a decade or something like that. trying to, fight for justice and stuff. And the Monsters Humans are like these super callous companies that really cared like nothing about like anything except profits and stuff. And it was just kind of like, just, even though I know like business practices even like 100 years ago were pretty bad, but like I don't know, it was just really just terrible, cringy, just like reading how callous they were regarding people's health and everything. So that's one if you want to read about modern-ish human monsters. And then for a fantasy one, I'm going with Mark Lawrence's Prince of Thorns, which I just finished reading. And yeah, this is like taking grimdark a little bit like too literally, where villages are getting burned down, people are getting like raped left and right just because they like lost a battle. People are getting tortured and killed and eaten, and just all kinds of psychotic stuff just going on. So yeah, I'm going with Monsters Humans for fantasy with Prince of Thorns. All right, number 5, Unsightly. So it's to read a comic or a graphic novel or manga featuring a monster. And I have 0 recommendations for you guys. I actually need all the recommendations I can get because I have read 0 comics, manga, and graphic novels in my entire life. I know that's pretty much heresy right there, but it's the truth. So I can't obviously give any recommendations on that, and I'm gonna be like spying everyone's recs for something. So I have absolutely no idea like where to even start. All right, number 6, Angry Mob. Recommend a book recommended to you by more than one person, and I'm going with an author that had been recommended to me many times, and it's Mary Roach. And I'm picking her first book because it kind of sticks with like the horror concept, and it's Stiff: The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers. So it's a book dealing with literal corpses and cadavers and dead bodies, but like kind of silly stuff, kind of scientific aspects that human cadavers either go through, what some are used for, whether that's test dummy stuff, whether that's anatomy stuff, all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, basically. So it's kind of in that horror vibe. But obviously Mary Roach is like a comedic nonfiction writer, so there's a lot of quirky, funny anecdotes as well. But I thought it kind of stuck with the horror theme a little bit. So that's why I'm going with that one. Let's see, number 7, Sacrifice. Read a book you've seen in an unhaul video. I try to remember some of the notable unhaul books that I thought like looked interesting and stuff, but I couldn't think of really anything that was like horror-ish related. So I'm going with one that was somewhat recently that I watched, and it was Carrie Louise Reads, and she unhauled her Wheel of Time books, and I have the first one here, The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Definitely not a horror book. Like, this is about as like anti-horror as it gets, even if there's dramatic, scary elements, whatever. It's like super uber high epic fantasy, so definitely not horror in any sense. But like I said, I couldn't think of any horror or scary related books that have been unhauled recently, so we're just going with The Eye of the World right there. That's all I can recommend to you guys. Number 8, Beasts. A book with a... Okay, so this is for Teen Beasts, but book with a monster with a plant or animal trait. And I'm going with Conan the Barbarian, because a lot of the things Conan ends up fighting are literal animals that are like just like psycho, like possessed or something, or they're like weird creatures with like animal parts and stuff, but they're people too. And then just going with like the covers here, I don't know, I just picked almost 2 at random. I wanted this one on purpose. I'll show you, but just grabbing any of them. We have Conan and the Amazon, and there's a giant like demon crocodile thing that's like walking on 2 legs and stuff. So that's pretty, I'd consider that one pretty animal related. And then this one, Conan the Outcast by Leonard Carpenter, has like this weird undead alive tree thing. So that was the only book I could find that had like a monster with like tons of plant traits. So I thought that one fit pretty well. All right, number 9, Haunts. Read a book dealing with dead or undead monsters. I'm going with a series that I've really enjoy, and I got to read the 3rd book, Crowfall, which just came out. But I'm going Blackwing by Ed McDonald. Blackwing and the 2nd book, Ravencry, were both really, really good. Just really bleak, grimdark stuff. But there are some parts where there are undead-ish things. I don't even know what you really classify them as, but undead, possessed things. I didn't have too many dealing with like undead or zombies or skeletons, anything like that. But this one definitely fit because, like I said, you'll have to read and find out. I'm not really sure what you'd even like classify them as, but there are definitely parts where you're kind of undead. So we'll just leave it at that. Like I said, I really enjoy the sort of just the bleak, terrible, grimdark atmosphere kind of going on. And you have this really, really crazy environment known as the Misery, which you can't even live in just because it's like it's just that terrible. So we'll leave it at that. All right, and number 10, Conspiracies, is to read a book with aliens, robots, or sci-fi based creatures. And I gotta go with my Horus Heresy books here. It's a 54 book series with like an 8-part like ending, so really it's like 62 books. But it takes place in like the 31st millennium. So yeah, there's gonna be tons of aliens and sci-fi and everything. I just picked 2 ones that had like alien creatures on them. So you got this one. No idea what the heck that is, but that's definitely an alien sci-fi creature if I've ever seen one out in outer space. And the same thing here. We have like an alien robot cyborg thing. Not quite sure what's going on with either of those, but yeah, pretty much any Horus Heresy novel is going to have, Xenos aliens or, sci-fi related monsters, stuff like that. Sometimes there's demons and stuff from the warp. So yeah, Horus Heresy Warhammer stuff definitely has creatures that fit that bill. So there you guys have it. Those are the 10 prompts for the Monsterathon readathon that's coming up in September. This was the Monsterathon tag, and I will be putting out my Monsterathon TBR hopefully in a couple days. We shall see. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching and sticking through it, and comment, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Just leave a link down below if you're going to be participating in the Monsterathon. I'd be glad to see what team you're on and stuff, so I can either cheer you on or try to sabotage. Nah, I'm just kidding. But anyways, like I said, just comment, like, subscribe if you want to. And also, if you want to support the channel, just check out my Etsy shop. Got cool wooden, cherry, mahogany bookmarks. Maybe just even, favorite or like some of the items, even if you don't buy stuff. Definitely supports the channel a ton. Just thank you for doing that. And always remember, whatever you end up reading, whether it has monsters or not, read victoriously.